Morning. Thank you for joining us on this SAG-AFTRA live stream on YouTube. To stay informed about all of our live streams and video events, we invite you to subscribe to this channel. You can go ahead and do that right now. Today, we present the President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live stream, Know the Rules Before You Break Them, Techniques for Any Vocal Performance. We'll be pausing throughout as we will have a pair of interpreters, Courtney Nimmersheim and Brittany Balance, here with us today to translate into American Sign Language. Courtney and Brittany will be switching off periodically throughout today's discussion. The presentation will begin momentarily. If you have questions that you would like to direct to today's guests, please email pteoe@sagaftra.org. That's pteoe@sagaftra.org. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded and you can watch the replay right here on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel along with more great content. Now, please give a warm welcome to today's host, SAG-AFTRA President Gabrielle Carteris.
Thank you, Shira. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. I am very excited about today's conversation. Know the rules before you break them, techniques for any vocal performance. So today we're going to walk you through some helpful warm-ups and specific exercises to protect and strengthen your voice. We all need that when we're going out for our auditions or even when we're working. And unlike some of our past live streams, we're doing something a little different. This one is a virtual workshop that's typically done in a more interactive space. So we're going to improvise, given the fact that we're streaming for live audience, but we think that this will be a good time for you to try to participate in your own way. Now, as a performer, particularly those who rely on our voices, we all know that preparing for any audition or role can be extremely challenging. And developing a technique that allows us to relax and to concentrate on performing with strength, power, and control isn't always as easy as it sounds. So wouldn't it be great to take control of our voice so that we can give the best performance possible? I know I'm always looking for new ways to perfect my craft, so this is a really meaningful, I've already said to our guest, I will be taking notes. Whether you're a singer, a performer, a commercial actor, or even a triple threat, our guest today will walk us through some effective do's and don'ts to help us maximize our range and to perform with confidence. Viewers will also have the chance to test out a few techniques. I told you, a little interactive. So you can practice from home or wherever you may be streaming. So if you have questions, as Shira said earlier about today's discussion, please email pteoe@sagaftra.org. Again, that's pteoe@sagaftra.org. I'm incredibly excited to kick off today's event. But first I want to introduce the incomparable Katie Riggs, who has an extraordinary vocal insight and has worked with star-studded clients and uses a technique that has been studied by over 200 Grammy winners. That's Grammy winners. That's right. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, good.
So nice that you're here with us today. You know, Katie's been teaching voice for over, 21 years now. Is that right, Katie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lifetime. She conducts private voice lessons, lectures, and workshops all around the world via online and travel. Some of her clients have included Dua Lipa, Ozzy Osbourne, Amy Osbourne, Midland Band, Madison Beer, Brian Wilson, Leslie Grace, Vampire Weekend, Saweetie, Coco O, and a host of up-and-comers. More and more beyond what I've just said. With that said, you are in for a very, very special treat. So I'm going to hand things over to Katie to start today's presentation, after which we'll do a bit of Q&A, sharing a few of the viewers' questions that were submitted. So without further ado, Katie, take it away.
Amazing. Thank you for the intro and thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you guys today. Okay. So my goal here is to have you leave with a better or more understanding about your voice. And again, I must preface this with all of my talks thus far and workshops are very much interactive. So when we get to the audience participation, do your best to follow along. And if you don't get it the first time, don't worry that this will be up on YouTube for review later. The reason I call this Know the Rules Before You Break Them course is because we must be equipped with the mechanics and rules ingrained before we let go into the emotional freedom realm so that when we open up to speak or sing, we aren't trapped by our instrument. And if you do feel like you're trapped, even in the midst of a live performance, that you're able to learn some things here today that you can use in the moment on stage. So just to give you a little bit of a background about who I am and why I'm on your screen right now, I grew up in Los Angeles. I come from a really big family. My mom and my dad met in a singing lesson, and they had a bunch of kids. It's how I'm blessed with 6 brothers and sisters. My mom was an opera singer, my dad a vocal coach, and so I was always immersed in music. I would take lessons with my mom, and I would sing opera and musical theater with her, and then I would go in for my lessons with my dad, and I would sing, you know, all of the pop stuff and R&B. That's actually where I lie. But what was really cool and always exciting to me is that it didn't matter whoever was coming in to take vocal lessons, the technique was always the same across the board. So it didn't matter if you were a singer or a dancer or an actor or somebody that wants to sing to their significant other at a party or sing a song, you know, at karaoke, or somebody that's preparing for a role but they don't know how to get the things out of their voice that they need to. That is what I grew up watching. And it was really the biggest blessing. So I started training with my mom and my dad when I was 7 or 8 years old. And then as I phased out of high school, that is when I actually started teaching. So I've been teaching for 21 years. You can do the math on that. Okay, so when I was a kid learning how to sing, I would listen to people like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, and they would always sing with these really big voices. And I equated power with chest voice, right? Because we've got this voice, our chest voice, and then we've got this voice, right? And there's no in between, right? Or how do you go from the low into the high with anything but a break, right? So very, very early on, I would yell and push my high notes like nobody's business because I thought that that was how to achieve the high notes. And then come to find out, on the door, my dad is like, you are going to kill your voice if you keep singing like that. So yeah, I needed to find a technique in order to be able to sustain my voice over a long period of time. And the way that I was doing things was I was using way too much muscle. And so that's when I started to take lessons with him. And I do remember being very much a beginner in the way of I didn't know that there was anything else besides a chest and head voice that was disconnected. And I learned how to navigate the middle, and we'll get into that. But that's a little bit of my background. So now to actually jump into the good stuff. We want voices as performers that are strong, flexible, clear, expressive, and in control. And like I said before, then we need the muscular freedom to be able to have the range whilst singing and acting to be able to tap into the emotional texture with. So if you don't know what your voice is capable of, then there can be anxiety and a lot of self-consciousness around what's given to you to perform. So most of the greats have coaches, and where there are coaches, there is practice. And so we must develop our practice life. And what does that look like for you? In terms of singing and speaking, I will explain chest voice, the voice that we're in all day long, and head voice, and the mix in between. And that is really my specialty, is how to blend the bottom into the top so that when you're moving from low to high, that there is no vocal break, there is no sudden change of quality, that you don't start to push, right? Okay, so I'm gonna share with you the classic voice types that come in to work with me. So number 1, I always use a 5-tone scale, because the first thing I'm looking for to see if someone's on pitch, right? So the first voice would be the breathy voice. So the breathy voice is not optimum in singing or speaking unless you're being asked to sing or speak really quietly. But overall, it's not authoritative. What happens is when you're on a 5-tone scale and it's breathy, it sounds like, so there's a lot of air coming through, and that's why it's harder to control. So what's actually happening is when you're in chest voice, your vocal cords are coming together and they're vibrating along the entire length of the vocal cord. So what happens when you use a breathy voice, the vocal cords, they come apart and it's only air blowing through. So ah would be chest and ah would be something like a falsetto, right? So the breathy voice is too much air coming through, which makes the voice weak, breathy, unstable, not able to project because air is too busy coming out of your cords, and doesn't have strength. Why? Because the cords aren't connected. And so in a song or phrase, you may start breathy, but to build dynamic, you need to get the vocal cords to come together for strength and more presence. So here is where we get into a little bit of audience participation. Try not to judge yourself. This is just a learning space, right? So I'd like to invite anyone that has a breathy voice as a man to follow with me a 5-tone ah as in cat. So we'll cover an easy range, up and down a scale, and then we'll move into something else. Okay. So this works for baritones and tenors, and I want you to pronounce the ah as in cat, right? And you're not gonna go ah, because that is the exact opposite of what we want. We want your chords to come together. So if you still can't get that strength, I want you to pretend like you just ate something gross and you're going ah, ah, right? And again, we don't want your volume to be too loud, but I want you to go ah. Volume doesn't increase or decrease as I go up higher, as well as the shape of my face and mouth, tongue, teeth is not changing. Guys, I wouldn't go above that D above middle C. If you guys do know notes, you know that it's going to start feeling really high, and your voice is going to either want to push or start to break. So we're going to head back in the other direction, the same ah, ah. Your turn. Some kind of warm-up that you're doing before you perform, because if you don't have a practice life and you're just willy-nillying it, you might not be aware that you have a lot of range above where you are and below where you are. So this is navigating those areas. Okay, so the next 5-tone scale we do is still with the men, and we're going to use either a tongue trill or a lip trill. Big floppy lips. Or if you can't do either one of those, you can use a raspberry, which looks like. So again, we're just warming up the bottom of your register here, and you're gonna go 1 of 3, or you can go back and forth between them. But again, there's no tension in your forehead. Your forehead always stays very relaxed, and we're gonna move up. So it goes. want to next level it to warm up the bottom of your voice. And women, if you can come along and it feels comfortable, do so, but you never want to dig. You don't want to dig low and you don't want to dig high. So we're going to go. Easy range, no stress. Last one. Okay, so men, that was your first lower warming up your chest voice. This is where you speak, okay? It should be feeling very easy. If you can continue down lower, great. I probably wouldn't continue up higher yet because that's where things start to change, and I'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so now is time for the female voices. We're going to do the same exercises as the guys just did, and we're going to start with, again, if it's a breathy voice, you're going to go ah, 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 ah. So not ah, ah, ah. And you're not going to go ah. That defeats the purpose. That would mean too much air is coming through your cords. So you want ah. Nothing changes. Ah. Now at the top of your chest voice, and back down, so now we are going to move into the lip trill or the tongue trill, floppy lips, or the raspberry. I forgot to mention this. Your larynx, this area in here, is the house of your vocal cords. And when your speech level, your larynx is usually just stays still, right? So what this ah and the lip trill and the tongue trill are doing is it's giving you the release or the relief as when you move through the 5-tone that nothing starts to move up or around. So it's always speech level, okay? So you're gonna go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're going to add 1, 3, 5, 3, 1 onto it. So again, it's. Right. So it's all very relaxed. We're always looking for the most relaxed. If it's ever pushing or grinding, wrong. Okay, so the second type that comes in to see me, and we're just navigating chest voice right now, is the pushed or the strained or the throaty voice. Now this is especially damaging because it's what makes your voice tired, right? So when your larynx starts to come up and it reaches up, it's gonna feel like you're hitting a ceiling and you can't get above it because you're too busy pushing, right? So I'm gonna give you exercises that impose your larynx down, right? So that you don't reach towards the top, okay? So yes, your larynx raises, your vocal cords can't handle the airflow. So the other muscles, the extrinsic muscles in your throat, they start to grab, making it difficult to stay in control. So before we get into the exercises for that, I just want you to know that you should know your levels, your gears. So I want you guys to play with your volume. If 1 is really quiet and 10 is really loud, I want you to experiment with where you normally speak and then get louder and softer, right? So you don't just all of a sudden, grind and lean in, that you know your levels. You know what it feels like to be soft, to come a little bit forward, to come a little bit forward, and then to totally lean in. If you are gonna project onto your voice for a long period of time, that is going to work against you because it's not your natural speaking volume. So get to know your levels, your personal gears. What is your normal? Do you have to adjust? Are you speaking too quietly? Are you speaking at a 2 or a 3? Do you need to come to a 5 or a 6? Are there times where you need to blast it? Do you need to be an 8 or a 9? So you want to get to know what your levels are in your chest voice, yeah? So be mindful when learning that song or script. What are those songs and scripts asking you to do? Know your levels. Okay, so this time we're gonna have the ladies first. And I want you to, again, be mindful of your volume. I want you to be at a 4 or a 5. And I'm gonna give you a closed vowel, and I'll explain what that is soon, with a British accent, right? So I don't want you to go, ma, 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 because that's not mum, that's mom. So it's really, really important. If any of you guys have a problem with diction, enunciating, you want to keep your vowel the same shape as how you normally speak it. This is for singing or speaking, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna impose your larynx down a little bit so that you don't start to squeeze at the top. This is a funny sound and it's a temporary sound. I don't want you to think that you're gonna have to, go on and forth using, a sound that has your larynx down. But it is good for warm up so that you don't start to squeeze and push. So you're gonna be like, mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Nothing changes. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Larynx is still dopey. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Okay, so now we're gonna have the men go. Mum, 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 mum. Same shape, no stress in your forehead. Always very relaxed. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. This is gonna eliminate any squeeze. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Extra credit. Mum, 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 mum. Out of 4. Mum, 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 mum. If you don't feel like you need the dopey, don't use it. Mum, 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 mum. Keep the accent. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. And if I can do it, there's a really big chance that you can do that too. I know it gets pretty low. Okay. So, most singers' boogeyman or challenge is how to go from the bottom of your instrument into the top notes without either the squeeze or without that break. So most people want to go, ah, but then you're left in this voice. It doesn't matter how much air you give this voice, it's never going to be connected, because what happened was your vocal cords disconnected, right? But if you equate power with chest voice, in essence, you would start to squeeze. Well, that's going to not do you any good, because that's not comfortable. Your voice is going to get tired. So what I propose is not doing this at home, the 5-tone ah, which I'm going to do, but is to follow along with some beginner scales to get you used to the release that should be happening when you move from low to high. So in my voice, when I'm doing it correctly, it should sound like, the top should sound like an extension of the bottom. So that sounds like, ah, so it's just a blend. And that is why all of these people that I was growing up with, it didn't matter which genre of music you like to sing in, country, jazz, gospel, rock and roll. How do you get to those high notes without your voice cracking and without breaking? So again, that's not a 5-tone scale for somebody that doesn't have the blend together. But that is what the point of the blend is to take care of any and all high notes. And if you don't have your high notes together, then you're going to be really limited as far as the songs that you're given, right? And you don't want to be that person that says, oh, I can't go that high, or, you know, oh, could you change the key? And yes, being mindful of some keys feel better to sing in than others. But the point is in your practice, you can develop that mid-range so that you can more so say yes to the opportunities that come your way. Okay, so we're going to start with the men on this one. Oh, to back up. To back up, the break or the push doesn't happen differently for me than it does Gabrielle, different than basically 98% of female voices, right? What we want to know in order to, because, you know, knowledge is power, and with that we can feel liberated to know that your crack as a female is not different than my break, okay? So that first bridge, and when I say bridge, it's an area of negotiation, right? Is at the A, B flat, B above middle C. So there's C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, B, C. Those are the notes that either your voice is going to want to break or start to push or start to blend. And so what I'm going to introduce to you is an exercise that will get you into those notes without your voice breaking and without your voice being stressed out. So I'll work with the women first, but a side note, the first bridge for a man, tenor or baritone, is going to be at the E, F, F sharp above middle C. So it goes C, D, First bridge for a guy, it's getting real high, E, F, F sharp, G. Those are the boogeyman notes for most men. And if you are bass, your first area of negotiation, your first bridge would be at the A, B flat, B, but below middle C. We're nerding out here. These are the nuts and bolts. Okay, so for the women, or did we just start with the women? We'll start with the men. Okay, so the male voices, we're going to introduce back the lip and tongue trill, but this time it's going to be on an octave scale. I'm going to start you in your chest voice, and then the top note is going to land in your head voice. Do not push ever. Go to the easiest feeling place in your voice. Relax your face. Your volume is at a 4 or 5. Do not push. So you're going to say, or, let's go for one more. And that top A is your second bridge as a man. That's at the A, B flat, B, C above middle C is the male second bridge of negotiation. If you don't deal with any of the bridges, then you're going to be caught up in chest voice and you're going to be really limited. We must learn how to navigate the higher in a way that feels relaxed and that you get the result of a sound that matches where you came from, okay? So we're going to head back down. Then it's all chest. But don't push the top, don't increase your volume. Okay, that is for the guys. What we're going to do is we're going to move into the females. So the first bridge for the female voice is at A, B flat, B above middle C. That's the breaking point. So what we need to do is blend. And one way to blend is that lip trill or tongue trill. So it's going to be the same thing. Follow along at home. You don't want lips that are going because that's too tight. You also don't want to go like this. Because what happens is if you stress out your forehead, like you're unsure, that sends a message to your brain that goes, uh-oh, and then that goes straight to your throat. So we want to act as if. Again, if you're actually pushing, stop. But again, you're going to the easiest feeling place in your voice. You've got to go from your chest into the middle. lips and ooh. And that's the beginning of our second bridge, which is the E, F, F sharp above this high C. Back down. Okay. All right. So we've got a lot of information that I'm going to try to give to you. Okay. So I just want to go into how it's counterintuitive, because since forever in music classes with music teachers and coaches, forever we're told that in order to get more sound, we have to open our mouths really big, and definitely when singing high, right? We're moving high. We got to grip. We got to open up. We got to give it our all. And that is the exact antithesis, right? It's the antithesis of what we're doing right now, is to have a really even feel, right? From low to high. Because when you have the proper blend on top of your voice, right? When you're going up, you don't need to open your mouth. And if anything, when you open your mouth too big, it forces the sound to go sideways. So now I'm going to give you, if we could pull up the cheat sheet, and I'm going to move through this as fast as I can and actually sing a little bit so you guys can understand. Okay, so when you're going from a low note to a high note, you want the voice to travel vertically, not horizontal, which means that there must be an emphasis on keeping the vowel always pure. And I know that some of you have been told the opposite, but listen to me, because this is the truth. This is the truth. If I get into, and I'm not going to go all the way through the cheat sheet, but there are ways to navigate range that do rely on the vowel. Because when you're going from a low note to a high note, and I'll take an awful vowel, like something that's very open, and I'll go ah. And if I go ah, well, I went straight into a yell at the top. I couldn't make it out of my chest voice because the sound went horizontal. In order to get the vertical on it, I only need to keep the vowel pure. So it goes ah. You see how everything always stays really relaxed. And when your face stays relaxed, your mouth is focused on speaking and keeping the same shape as you start with, then your communication is going to be always very clear. So whether you're a singer, actor, singer, right? When you focus upon the actual words, the blend most times will happen very naturally. Yes, we have to build it in with all of the exercises, and we don't have a lot of time for that right now or at all. But you want to build in the blend so that when you actually get into the application of singing, if a problem vowel is ah, then you can go towards So you can keep going through that, you know. If you're at home, you might want to screenshot this, or it'll be up for review later, but I do think that you should take a look at it because it really is the cheat sheet. And I'll give you an example, and I only have so much time and I'm super sad about it. But there's this piece called Blues in the Night by Ava Cassidy. And the first line of it is, it goes from here to here. And that is very scary if you don't have your blend. So the words are, my mama done told me when I was in pigtails. My mama done told me so. So as a tip, you want to get a mirror in front of this, in front of your face for whatever you're singing, and you want to make sure that when you sing those lyrics that it looks exactly like you are talking. That is how we speech level it, right? So if I go, my mom, Well, that's not going to make it because my mouth opened up too big. I couldn't get out of my chest voice. So what I want to do is, if the problem vowel is ah, I go a little bit towards right? And then the mix happens naturally for me. So I'll sing it. My mama done told me when I was in pigtails. My mama done told me so. So I didn't go, my mama. No, sounds like you're shouting. My mama done told me when I was in pigtails. Not when I was in pigtails. When I was in pigtails, my mama done told me so. So there's always an emphasis on speaking. Singing by definition is sustained speech. Here's another one real quick. So it goes, my heart is drenched in wine. You'll be on my mind forever. It's by Norah Jones. Now I didn't go, my heart is drenched in wine. You'll be on. No, it's going to be off pitch. Too much chest voice. So in order to activate the blend or the middle of your voice, there has to be paid attention to the vowels that are either going to disable or able you. So again, right way. My heart is drenched in wine. Then it goes up into the bridge again. You'll, not y'all, you'll be on my mind forever. So there's always clear communication because as artists and performers, we are responsible for giving a communication, right? Ooh, we only have 3 minutes here, so I'm going to speed through. We have to train and practice. Okay, so we have to train and practice correctly with good form so that we are warmed up for whatever selection we have. I was going to go into a breathing meditation, but we don't have time for that. So what I'm going to do is, breathing is another sort of boogeyman. But what the thing is that if you have all the greatest breathing from your diaphragm in the world, it's not going to help you if you don't understand that there are bridges in the female and male voice. That if you don't have the proper coordination of your vocal cords blending, that it doesn't matter how much air you give it, it doesn't make a better blend. Okay? So just a really quick thing on breathing is when you want if you're standing up, your weight is on the balls of your feet, your shoulders are back, your chest is up, not too far, but keep an upright posture. And when you inhale, you're going to think about allowing the breath to come into your stomach, but you're going to think about it coming from below your navel point. What that allows you to do is it creates a vacuum full of air so that you can have that to free flow whatever you're singing or speaking about. Right. If you take your breath from a shallow, high breath, if your shoulders and your chest come up, that air is very explosive and it's going to come out too quickly, causing maybe a possible grab in your throat. So the secret behind singing is not really a secret. When we're walking around during the day, we're not taking high breaths unless we're stressed out. We normally breathe in through our stomach. So when you're laying in front of the TV later or going to bed or you wake up in the morning, just put your hands on your lower stomach and you'll notice that when you breathe through your stomach. So the only thing to get that to connect to what you're singing is I would print out your lyrics or print out your script and notice where your breaths are. And I would go through, put one hand on your stomach. Every time you inhale, your stomach is coming out. And at the end of the phrase, your stomach is following it back in. That is the secret to breathing. You don't need to go to vocal lessons that are concentrating on an hour of breathing. You don't need to. It's very simple. Okay, that's 10:45. What else do we do? Okay, inhale, stomach comes out naturally. The air fills your lungs. You're going to feel your chest expand a little bit. And when you exhale, your stomach comes back in. Really quickly, if you have a stopwatch on your phone, what you do is get your stomach out there first. Inhale, your stomach comes out. And then what you want to do is pick a low note, not too low, not too high, and just go ma 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 ma. It doesn't matter what you choose to say, but you're just trying to see how long you can make your breath last. You're gonna keep on going, and your stomach is gonna be pulling in because that is where your air is coming from. And you're gonna go, and you're gonna go, and you're gonna go, and say that's like 10 seconds. Then the next time you try to increase that, go to 15 seconds, and that is how you can work on your breath. Okay. I didn't even get to my do's and don'ts.
No, you know what? Can you just take a few minutes for your do's and don'ts? Because I think the don'ts are just, we want everybody to have the information they need.
Yeah.
So we can open up to questions and people can write in later, but I really want you to get the information out. So
totally. Okay, so if we can bring those up. Okay, so the do's and don'ts sheets. These are things that you might already know, but maybe you're not paying enough attention to. I'm gonna pull that up myself. Yes, do exercise. Your body is the machine, so we have to treat our bodies with care and with time and with good health, right? And that all is gonna affect your throat. So this also has to do with stamina. A healthy, strong body makes for a better feeling optimum voice. Absolutely, hands down. Meditate, calms your nerves, brings it back into your body. You can start with a minute of a breath meditation or 5 minutes. They're all over YouTube, but meditating absolutely calms down things like anxiety, stuttering, moving too fast for your mouth. Meditation is the key. Do your vocal warm-ups every day, 2 times a day, 15 to 20 minutes. If 20 minutes feels too long, you move it down to 15. If you still feel good and warm and you can vocalize longer, then keep going. If you feel like something is a little wrong in that hour warm-up, that can be damaging. A really good warm-up really needs to just be done 15 or 20 minutes a day. You do not need to be doing up to an hour. So be mindful of your application into song. Remember that your focus is always really on speaking. You want the same shape of your mouth, teeth, tongue, lips, right? Look into any vitamins or medications you're taking that could be affecting your voice. There's different seasons where allergies come into play. And so you want to make sure that the allergy medications that you're taking aren't drying out your throat. So you always want to be hydrated, right? Know what you're allergic to. Take actions to help yourself. Know when you're hormonal. When it's that time of the month for females, the vocal cords, they literally puff and they swell, causing the flexibility and the vibration to slow down. So if you can control it, you don't want to put a recording session or a voiceover session around that because things don't feel as flexible. I always sleep with a humidifier. I carry it wherever I go to maintain moisture in the air. Nothing's worse than feeling really dry about your voice. Mixing well. Get with a teacher that teaches how to mix so that you are able to navigate and not feel like anywhere you have to engage in throaty behavior. And any singer or voiceover actor should absolutely have an ENT, an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So then when you get the flu or you have a cold or acid reflux or different gastrointestinal things, that's all going to affect your voice, and an ENT is going to be able to help you with that. Get as much sleep as you can, 6 to 9 hours. If you need 6, great. If you need 9, try to get that. Be as consistent as you can. So I think those are the do's. What else do we have? Do have a vocal coach you regularly see. I have so many clients that wait till the last minute, and that is not proper. That is not proper. You want to be able to train your body so you don't have to think about it anymore. You want to train your voice so you don't have to think about it anymore. You want to let go. You just want your voice to kick in naturally without having to think about it so that you can actually get into the whole point, which is delivering the emotional content of whatever you're doing. So know that transforming your voice is possible, just like going to the gym. You're going to have a more fit body if you go to the gym. If you do your vocal warm-ups, you are going to have a stronger voice. So know the rules before you break them. What if you want to yell? You can yell. What if you want your voice to crack for a stylistic? You can do that, but know the rules so that when you're in a live performance that you know how to bring yourself back if you've gone too extravagantly. Learn all you can about the music or the story or script you're learning. Learn all of it. Go back. Be mindful of how you clear your throat. You don't want to go or coughing really hard, because that's like taking your hands as far apart as they'll go and slamming them together. So what ENTs will have you do is go, you clear your throat by going, now that might not feel successful to you because we've been clearing our throats differently for a really long time, but that is how you clear your throat. Stay the course, you can do this. Okay, wrapping up with the don'ts and then questions. So don't yell. Don't yell, know your levels. Increase your volume. Don't increase your volume as you go higher in your vocal scales, because you need less air, not more air, as you move up higher in range. Don't grunt when exercising, or be mindful of the grunting when you exercise. When you're picking up weight, every time you go, you're hurting your cords. Try not to eat late. Eating late will cause things like acid reflux and also cause you to have abnormal sleep patterns. Don't skip meals, because our meals are the energy for our body to be able to move. Don't ditch your self-care regimen. Don't sleep with your window open. That's a biggie for me. When I leave my window open, it can bring dust and pollen in from the outside, and then I wake up and I suddenly have a voice that doesn't feel like it's all the way there, or that my voice feels really dry. Don't sleep with a fan on. That's moving everything around in the air. It can definitely dry you out. Try not to sing or overspeak when you're sick. That rest is absolutely best. That's the best thing to do when your voice doesn't feel well. Don't choose songs or pieces that require much more than what you're working with, because you're going to find yourself straining in places that you wouldn't normally. Don't wait till the last minute to rehearse. I'm going back up. You have to build in the muscle memory. If you're a teacher, don't overteach. Don't give examples at 100%. You want to be at like 60%. Your clients will be able to hear that. Don't overtalk if you can stand it. I know these are just like, they might sound so extreme, but these are the do's and don'ts. Alcohol puffs and swells your vocal cords. They go, and then it causes things to, and you might think that when you drink, you might think, but what's happening is the alcohol is affecting your thoughts, and what's actually happening is your vocal cords puff and swell, so it's going to feel more restricted because and not as flexible, because they're puffing and swollen. Okay, next don't. Smoke takes away the natural lubricant from your vocal cords. It will decrease your range over time. Absolutely. That's just a when. When is it going to start decreasing your range, as well as it's going to affect your lungs and your capacity to breathe low and full. Don't do drugs. Drugs are going to have an effect on your body and also your mind, and it makes, doing drugs makes you feel like things aren't possible. So don't do drugs. Pretend there is not an issue. A quote from my dad is, you never show any vocal problem any mercy, right? So if there's an issue, see somebody about it. Don't rely on yourself. Rely on the expertise of people. Don't be afraid to change your vocal coach if you're not seeing the results and growth. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. You are your blessing. You have your space in the world. Don't be afraid to sing or act in a different genre. That's going to grow you. You may really enjoy stepping outside your comfort zone. Don't be hard on yourself. We're all on this journey. We all have our own gifts, and don't give up.
Perfect. Don't ever give up.
No.
I think these are great. Katie, I am like literally, you should see the notepad. It's filled. Thank you so much. And I really am glad you did the do's and don'ts. I want to ask a question when you're saying the don'ts, like don't, drink alcohol, don't smoke, but what is a good do drink? Like coffee is bad for me sometimes. It gives me, where people might think it's a warm liquid. It doesn't do well for me. So what do you recommend that people do drink to keep their vocal cords loose and flowing?
So coffee's acidic, and it's also the caffeine. And you might find that you're fine with caffeine, and then other people are not fine with caffeine. So honestly, I just always stick to room temperature, because it's not shocking to your cords. You don't want to drink too hot, and you don't want to drink too cold. It's always room temperature, which might be really gross for a soda, but just know what you're doing. And then as far as being soothing, I've had a lot of people say that they have like a lot of success with Manuka honey, and that's really soothing to the throat. But also remember that honey is a natural sedative, so it might make you a little bit, tired. But always stick to room temp and be mindful of things like caffeine for sure.
Great, thank you. And I have many questions, but I was listening also based on not just the work that I've done in terms of video games, but a lot of people who are actually participating more now in video games than ever. There are times when there is mandatory screaming going on, fight scenes or whatever. And how do you support your voice through those moments? How do you prepare, and what is the best approach to something like that?
Well, I relate that to rock and roll singers, right? And going for their high notes, they want it to be really loud and belted. It's the vowel. So I remember growing up, I've got a lot of brothers and sisters, and one of my sisters' names is Rachel. And I don't want to yell on screen, but I'm going to yell a little bit. So I would be screaming across the house, and I would go, Rachel, it's time for dinner. And my dad would go, no, Katie, it's Rachel. It's Rachel. He'd go, Rachel is better than Rachel. Why? One, it's more clear when you narrow the vowel, and it also provides your throat to relax. So it's always being mindful of the vowels. So what does it feel like in your mouth when you say that particular word? And then you need to match that when you put volume behind it, but don't lose your shape. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's great.
So if it's like, hey, everybody, it's not, hey, hey, it sounds more shouty. Hey, it's a lot more focused, right?
Correct.
Sorry, I'm yelling at you. Okay.
No, it's good. It's good. I understand.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's a question here. It's always taking me a while to wake my voice up. As I get older, now that I'm in my 60s, it's taking even longer. Any pearls of wisdom for me?
Yes. So you don't want to vocalize right when you wake up, because your vocal cords have been apart for as long as you've been sleeping, unless you sleep talk. Your cords are apart. So I would, for me, and I'm in my 30s, but what I do is I wake up, I do what I do, I might eat something. Don't sing or warm up right after eating, but like give your body like 45 minutes or an hour. I would start warming up probably 2 to 3 hours after you wake up. And what I would do is, and if you're tone deaf, I don't know if the person is tone deaf, but if they are, you can still do, and you don't even have to be mindful about really the notes. You just have to be mindful of your throat staying really relaxed and running the siren up and down. And then actually doing a couple of these exercises that we did today is absolutely going to help you. But I know plenty of people in their 60s or 70s and 80s that have really great voices because they give themselves time in the morning, and then you start to little by little, nothing aggressive ever, but slowly warming up your voice is the same at 60 as it is for 30. We all have to do the same things.
Very good. That's really important for you to share that. Thank you. This is, I have a voice that sits quite low. I'm a contralto, I think. Mm-hmm. I can sing low A, below low C when I'm warmed up. It's also up to high C. If I'm super warmed up, I feel like I need to warm up extra or more than my soprano counterparts. Is this true?
It depends upon what you're practicing. Period. Again, in my knowledge, it takes me as a soprano and alto the same as it's going to take anybody else when the scales that I'm singing are specifically designed for my voice. So you're not going to do the same scales as the soprano, obviously, because it's a female voice versus a male voice, but your vocal warm-ups must be specifically tailored to your voice. So stay away from trying to do, YouTube warm-ups, because what you really need to have is somebody listening to you that can adjust when you go in the wrong direction. So no, it shouldn't take you any longer to warm up.
Good. That's very good information, because I think people personally think, oh, I'm different, but there's basic things that we all share. Yeah. So here is, when I audition, I often get a clog in my throat. Some say to drink hot tea, but I'm wondering if there are any tricks you might recommend. Was that the warm-up step? But when you're in the middle of an audition, how can you release? Or is it possible?
And you're in the middle of an audition.
Right.
That's
I'm in the audition, right? And I'm in the audition and I'm feeling like, oh, I'm just kind of, how do you,
Well, one way to manage that is make sure that you're breathing from your stomach, and when you inhale that your stomach is coming out, because here's what happens. If you're in the midst of an audition and you're breathing high, if you're going, so you can even do this along with me. When you're breathing normal, everything still feels really level, but when you go and you start to breathe high, it feels like it's more in your throat. So what I would do is I would try to, in the moment, and this is a skill to be developed, but you have to take the inhale from below your stomach so that your throat can stay relaxed. Also, think about the volume. Are you at a 10 and you could be at a 7? That's going to back you off of your throat. Also, what are the vowels? The vowels play such a huge role. If you're like, I, that's going to feel a lot more throaty than I, no, I. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah.
So pay attention to vowels, keep it speech level volume, and breathe from your stomach.
I think that speaks to the fact that preparing, when you talked about earlier on, know your work enough to know I tend to push hard on this vowel here. I need to open up. This is a place I need to round it out. This has all been great. I feel badly because we are at time. It was riveting. I know that we can do this again, and I hope we do. And I hope everybody will watch this, because again, we do have this recording. There are really great tips there, and I want people to be able to absorb that. It has been a great presentation and discussion. I want to thank you for being with us today, Katie. I can't thank you enough for this presentation. As you can tell, I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone found it as much value today as I did. A very special thanks to all of you who've been tuning in each week for our President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live streams. If you haven't already, while you're here, please subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel to get updates on the great content that we've been posting. And to everybody, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.